I'd say my aesthetic was kind of a mixture between documentary and fantasy. Yeah, I'm always trying to like figure out like the balance between what I have to say and what someone is as they are. I'm kind of asking a question, and I think that's how it is with most of my pictures. There's a lot to work through to do with sex and sexuality and things like that. So I'm trying to figure it out very slowly with my photography, trying to see how it is to be a woman. I studied fine art when I was at university, but my work was more going back to the old school idea of art. Yeah, being a bit more intuitive, being a bit more emotional, just kind of like feeling it. And also beauty was a big part of my work, and that's very, very frowned upon within the art world. It's probably the most disgusting thing you could do is to make something beautiful. Fashion was a really good blend of the two, where I could be curious and ask the questions I wanted to ask, but I was never an artist really. I'm just very, very curious. These are the contacts from our Chanel project. I'm looking over to see what could be interesting to print. The project is about Chanel No. 5. We wanted to create some sort of material that would inspire younger girls that wasn't your ordinary perfume advert. I really like the values that Chanel have with regards to the perfume. It doesn't smell of anything specific, and that was with the idea that the woman would become the smell and she wouldn't be objectified by what she is. When she walks by, you can't associate her with anything apart from herself. I think images are important, really. People would be surprised how much an image can do.
I always said I wouldn't want to fully depend on the art world nor on the fashion world. I like being sort of independent and in between. You also learn with experience or with making stuff that it doesn't really matter. Everything you make is art. It is a reason to connect with people. I always want whoever it is that I'm photographing to walk off my set thinking, I'm amazing.
但是我中间又经过了3年的这个平面设计，还有建筑，还有舞台设计。但最后我为什么选择摄影呢？因为我喜欢用人去表达，就是说人的我需要传达的这个信息。因为人总是会被面孔所吸引，然后去。不管他们想不想读，但是他们总会被这种面孔所吸引，然后得到他们所承载的这个信息。所以这个我拍人就是完全是可能是为了表达的这个一种需要，变成了摄影师。对。
Like that actually looks so good with that. Maybe you could wear this with. We'll figure it out. Yeah. But like these outfits in this bedroom. I would describe my aesthetic as like hyper feminine. Super long, like nail salon, fingernails, picking wedgies. It's like super feminine, but also kind of gross. My photography is influenced by high school. I feel like I'm a 16-year-old girl still, and I think I always will be. Shoots are so personal that you really get to know someone. Like they're often just in my bedroom. All of us are hanging out. It's just me laying on the bed with friends. If I am having an intimate moment when I'm taking a photograph, that translates to the viewer.
I've always been very into pink. It's like a color I can't escape. I loved it as a kid so much, and then I keep on like moving away from it and coming back to it and moving away and coming back. I strive to do it somewhat minimalistic, and I don't know why, but that's what I try to do, and then a lot of the times I feel like I fail in that, but I think that might be some kind of Nordic aesthetics that I keep on being like, this is what things should look like, you know?
Taking a picture of yourself you feel so self-conscious, and it's such a weird experience that I would use the masks just as a way of getting around having to confront my own face. I like the anonymity of it. I think that's why I made a character, because I don't want to just put myself in the middle of the shot and be like, look at me, this is me, like who cares about me? There's no such thing as natural femininity. It's constructed, it's fake, so why not make it more fake? Take ownership of it.
Every picture I take is kind of a self-portrait. I project myself onto whoever I'm photographing. I kind of feel like I'm living all these different lives through the pictures that I take of other women. I kind of don't know who I am without the camera.
The selfie is the highest form of empowerment. Like there's no mediation there, it's just you taking a photo of yourself and you're sending it out to the world.
I honestly don't think there's such thing as female gaze. You could say there's a male gaze and everybody has to work according to that. When I work, I never take like a billion steps away from that because I feel like I'm losing myself in an aesthetics that I don't understand.
I see it even in, the work me and Vinod make together. He does look differently at a girl, and there is this aspect of desire for him that does inform the pictures he takes. For me, it's all about that idea of projection.
This is my meat collection. I collect the meat. It's the kind of food equivalent of what we're doing to the women in the photographs. The way they've done these like serving suggestions on the front, if you've done food photography, you're like, you know that shit is just sprayed with hairspray and like stuck together with pins. And in a way, that's what we do to women as well. They're just like, they look so edible and you could just lick them, but if you did, you could get a mouthful of hairspray.
I could be, outside of China to be a professional, popular fashion photographers, but the sounds from the space, tell me to do, should be the shooting the contemporary China, and to give the confidence of those Chinese young girls, they are beautiful, and just do what they are.
So the casting was really interesting. We looked at so many different types of people.
We wanted to find girls that weren't already known, they weren't celebrities. We wanted them to be really true and genuine.
There are actually too many good girls to choose from.
I'm looking for something that shows what interesting people these girls are, really. Christine, we actually saw in TED Talks, so she's a little more well known. She's a sound artist. She's super, super interesting and has just such a unique way of communicating. Each girl kind of really represents for me kind of a different way of expressing yourself. And I wanted to learn more about these girls, and that's kind of like some of the reason that I chose them, was because I was very curious about what they had to say about the world, and the way they do it is in a really interesting way. Each girl has a different story within the images, but quite different. Piecing them together will be interesting.
I started the project in 2002 on a spring break vacation. I was 22 years old, I was really naive, and I was really insecure. And so the first picture that I took was all about like what that pain was. It was a version of me, but then it was like the world around me and this body. So photography kind of allowed for me to have a dialogue with myself. I was casting a certain kind of beauty onto the body within the tropes of light and color and fabric. And so there was a kind of contrived beauty that I was making, trying to understand beauty in self. I was really questioning like what intimacy was, what is sensuality, and can I be seen as something sensual? So I casted my roommate to take this picture with me, and for whatever reason, one of the exposures I looked over at the lens, and I had never addressed the lens before. The camera always operated something really observational within the space, and when I looked at the context sheet, I was like, that's it, like that's the picture.
We're on Wall Street in New York City, outside the Trump building.
What are we doing?
Well, I'm obsessed with men, and I'm obsessed with powerful men. So we've come here to just look at them, really, you know. A white man with great education, lots of money, and loads of power. Women are watched all the time. How often are men watched? Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot to look at. I like their body language. I like the way they walk. You know, I like their shock of difference. You know, not fitting in, conforming. So yeah, that's why we're here. A place of profound power and responsibility. And you know what? It's all driven by their sexuality. That is what's fascinating to me. Like, what's he into? Do you know what I mean?
Why there aren't more women making images of women really perplexes me. With a photographer, you're creating visions of a gender and a sexuality which is then fed in by thousands of people. So there's a huge amount of responsibility there.
I would have liked it if there was no gender. I think the separation is the problem. Like the facial hair pictures that I've done of myself and of Kate Moss and Anne-Catherine and Carmen Kaz, they all kind of had to do with this idea of erasing identity, of saying, okay, you're looking at a woman, but then she has all the codes of a male, so hopefully it ends up nowhere, and it's just a person.
There are always obstacles being a female photographer, but it's just a different way of working. There are things that I can do that a male photographer couldn't do, and vice versa. I'd like to close those gaps, but for now, it's interesting to use what you have to your advantage or to your disadvantage and make the most of it. To be a woman for me is an advantage, and most things have been through the eye of a man, so it's interesting. It's interesting to be a woman photographer just because our viewpoint hasn't been heard for very long.